We on already. Good afternoon, delightful charming. And a great day. Thank you, the Bobster, thank you. Let's go. to Home Depot.
¿Por qué creo que es buen chico? No, lo iba a dar el día,
pero no me gustaba la gente no generalices.
Generaliza, bueno, siempre. Cuando vas a generalizar, di, no debo generalizar.
No generalizamos por
No lo llamaste.
No. Se llama Navy. Dice el apartamento de la 34.
3415 33 Street.
No, no. Sí,
Sure, sounds good.
Is available?
Okay, he's gonna have his
tiene que llamar. Lo mismo que llama.
hello? Dos veces, si no me contestas no tiene nada.
Ah, aquí vamos a ver. Pero mira, se parece a la tuya. Sí. Pero eso es lo que tú estás pensando. Más blanco. ¿Dónde está?
Ahora tomaré un segundo. No, ni tiempo va a dar.
No, ella va a venir con la...
Por
con
eso,
la...
no, ni que suene, no da tiempo ni que suene.
No, pero tú
la
sabes que
alarma.
yo no sé por qué los policías son tan... Yes.
Tiene que tener algo.
Chano, no sé por qué me bajan aquí.
¿Ah?
Yo creo que las sirenas son para asustar.
Es que no le va a dar tiempo ni de asustar a echar.
Claro, yo digo que los policías son las sirenas, yo creo que es para
No,
asustar.
es para la alarma, es para alarmar a la gente de que tiene que quitarse.
No, pero cuando lo están persiguiendo.
Para que la gente se
Meterle
quite,
miedo,
amor.
Coño, que te estén alumbrando con esa luna alumbra fuerte. Diga, ay caray.
Y no es lo mismo estar haciendo cosas sin presión que bajo presión. Ya viene.
Amor, podía
¿Y tú?
Apúrate,
¿Y tú?
apúrate. Tuviste una película que se llama...
Oh, you gotta watch the town, bro.
Take care.
Ben Affleck?
You never saw
No.
it, right?
Thank you, sir.
Not yet, not yet.
Pero ¿por qué te adivinan sin saber?
coming back from the front of the crowd wet, and I don't know if they got some kind of gas or water something thrown at them. I said, oh, let me go back.
Yeah, no, you did the right thing. Or the FBI, forever busting Italians, forever busting Islamists, would be looking to bust you too. We'll be talking about that and so much more up next. You don't want to turn that dial. Remember, you are my co-host. Talk radio for New York and WLIR-FM.
12 people in the house. Lobster. Wow.
The Capitol. Released to Brady, Fox News. Some House Democrats raising concern about tours on the eve of last week's deadly attack.
Nearly 3 dozen lawmakers want the Capitol Police to look into tour groups that visited the U.S. Capitol a day before a violent breach, describing the tours as unusual given the restricted access since March because of the pandemic.
Were there tours being given where people within the tour were doing some level of reconnaissance on what would happen the next day? We need to find that out.
Ohio Democrat Tim Ryan is the subcommittee overseeing the Capitol Police budget. He is requesting video surveillance. During pandemic restrictions, members of Congress and staff are permitted to lead tours with families, constituents, and other groups.
Fox's Jared Halpern. As that probe and the planning for next week's inauguration continue, President-elect Joe Biden is scheduled to speak tonight about his plans to address the COVID crisis and the economy. New York's Attorney General is suing New York City Police, accusing the department of excessive force during protests after the death of George Floyd last year. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has this live. Well, the suit filed by the Attorney General Letitia James also includes the City of New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio, as well as NYPD leadership. She said her office found that during protests from May to December, NYPD officers engaged in excessive force as well as misconduct, including the indiscriminate unjustified repeated use of pepper spray, bicycles, and crowd control tactics known as kettling. There are reforms and a monitor to oversee the NYPD during future protests, Lisa. Tanya, the police union chief, blames the failure of city leadership for the chaos and says they're pointing fingers at cops while ignoring the people who attacked police with bricks and firebombs. America is listening to Fox News.
New year, new budgets. Every small business has unique needs. And when you partner with a Dell Technologies advisor, you get real-time tailored advice. They'll even give you a free consultation on your servers and storage devices to develop a custom solution to help improve your company's productivity. Plus, get special financing with Dell Business Credit and big savings on business computers with Intel Core processors. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
I hate Tom's Tulip Shop. It just smells so flowery. Like what's good at your flower shop. You don't need to remind us.
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
I need a fake plant. They don't sell fake plants. Thanks for nothing, Tom.
And well, Progressive can save you from these trolls. We can help you save money on commercial auto and business insurance.
And he says, have a great day. I'll decide what kind of day to have.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Now, former acting Homeland Security Chief Chad Wolf says he didn't see a legal path forward to serve out his final days with the Trump administration.
The authority as the acting secretary has been subject to litigation on a number of fronts. And as recently as last Friday, had another court ruling, misguided court ruling, in my opinion, that again had a nationwide injunction to several of our actions and rulemaking.
Wolf telling Fox News his recent resignation was not because of the storming of the Capitol last week, though he also says the president's words matter and that he expressed his disappointment President Trump didn't more quickly condemn the violence. A jump in the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment benefits, nearly 1 million last week. The 965,000 initial claims, the highest since August, as surging COVID cases and new lockdowns keep chipping away at jobs. Continuing claims from those still receiving benefits also worse than expected, up by 200,000 to 5.27 million. Says Lillian Wu, further evidence of ongoing economic pain from the pandemic. One of tennis is back. May not be able to play ahead of the Aussie Open.
Good day, mate. Not for Andy Murray. With the first major tennis tournament of 2021, the Australian Open, set to begin February 8th. Former world #1 player Andy Murray found out he won't be able to travel to Melbourne as planned this week. Murray has tested positive for COVID-19. The Australian Open requires players to quarantine for 14 days upon their arrival, which means the clock is ticking for Murray to get to return to the tournament, where in 2019 he had retired from tennis because of a hip injury. Now 33 years old, Murray, a 5-time runner-up at the Australian Open, said he still hopes to be able to compete at the tournament next month. Jared Mack, Fox News.
Wall Street's rallying. Right now the Dow's up 124 points, clearing 31,200. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News. Now what's trending on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler. New York's Attorney General is suing the NYPD over widespread civil rights abuses last summer involving Black Lives Matter protests. Letitia James.
What we found was an egregious abuse of police power, rampant excessive use of force, and leadership unable and unwilling to stop it.
James also wants a federal monitor installed. The lawsuit also names Mayor Bill de Blasio, Police Commissioner Dermot Shea, and Chief of Department Terry Monahan. New York State has opened its 4th COVID vaccine mega site. It's a drive-through on Long Island, Jones Beach. A 4th member of Congress is testing positive for COVID-19 following the deadly Capitol Hill riots. Congressman Adriano Espaillat of New York City says he's quarantining and resting at home after receiving a positive COVID test. The Democrat just received his 2nd dose of the COVID vaccine last week, but it takes time to be effective. 3 other Congress members, including New Jersey Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, have tested positive for COVID since the riots last week. I'm Kristen Marks for 77 WABC News. Loretta Weinberg, the top-ranking woman in New Jersey politics, is retiring in January 2022 at the end of her term as Senate Majority Leader. She's 85 and says simply, she feels it's time. WABC News Time 104. Traffic and transit are next. Now your forecast from the Ramsey Subaru Weather Center. 46 degrees, mostly cloudy. From the 77 WABC News Desk, I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
WABC, traffic and transit. In Nassau County, a couple of construction delays on the westbound LIE. Big jam up from Post Road out to Willis Avenue with roadwork. And very heavy traffic here eastbound on the Southern State Parkway. Delays extending from Grand Avenue right on out to the Meadowbrook with roadwork, and then more delays eastbound on the Southern State coming in through Wantagh Parkway with construction. We're going to slow down here on the Van Wyck. Southbound Van Wyck is crawling from Jewel Avenue down through Atlantic Avenue. Northbound Van Wyck, heavy ride from Rockaway Boulevard up through Atlantic Avenue. Eastbound Grand Central from Jewel Avenue into the Q. Westbound Belt Parkway heavy to the Van Wyck. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
New York's talk station with the king of New York, Curtis Lewa, 77 WABC.
Right back to it. That's what we do here on the new Curtis Lewa Show, because remember, my co-host is all of you, the many listeners, and those 99.9% of you who would never call a talk radio show, and now you can be heard. You have maybe a limited use of your social networking. You may have decided to forget your Twitter account, your Facebook account, your YouTube account, WhatsApp, Instagram. And you may have said, they took Carla from me, I just feel I'm adrift. No, you go old school always was. You would call up talk radio programs and you could be heard. And then what happened over time, the talk radio format evolved, and the host or the hostess decided they want to pontificate. They want to tell you everything you already know. And they go on and on and on. And they never get to calls. And how many times have you heard a host or a hostess give out the number, and then they never go to the callers? Well, we're going to be a lot different. Our number's 1-800-848-WABC. That's 1-800-848-9222. But I am fuming Here we have in the state of New York, a state that was out of control all summer long, and not just in New York City, because of the demonstrations by Black Lives Matter that led to riots and looting by Black Lives Matter and Antifa. No, not just here in New York City. It happened in Albany. It happened in Rochester. It happened in Buffalo. It happened in Syracuse. It happened in some other smaller communities. But what happened today is an absolute scandal disgrazia. The Attorney General of the state of New York, Tish James, who spends her entire day, morning, noon, and night, looking to sue Trumps, whatever it is, where they have any kind of signage going on, has decided to sue the NYPD. We'll be talking to Ray Kelly later, former the police director here in New York. I mean, he's got to be fuming like I
lady
am.
on the left side with the dog and the scooter.
By the
It's
way,
cute.
not having once been in the middle of the demonstrations, although probably very sympathetic to Antifa and Black Lives Matter, no experience in the streets. She's saying that they were violating the civil rights of Black Lives Matter and Antifa because they had batons, pepper spray, and bicycles, and they were kettling. You know what kettling is? Kettling is containment. That means you get a large phalanx of cops, and they move to confine a group of demonstrators in a small area so that stop committing violence. You know what happened over this weekend? Did Tish James comment on the fact that Antifa came with body armor on, full body armor, helmets, shields, batons? They walked right through Times Square, and she's more concerned that the cops protecting us from them were on bicycles on both sides. That's a violation of Antifa's civil rights, but Antifa has the right to put on full body armor, shields, batons, helmets on, implements of war, and talk about whose streets are streets, blankety blank, 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 blank. Our number is 1-800-848-WABC. That's 1-800-848-9222. Now, juxtaposition that versus what everyone is saying about what happened in the nation's capital when they stormed the Hill, and there was an attempt to take over the House and the Senate. They're claiming there wasn't enough security. They're claiming there wasn't security with batons, with shields, with body armor, with helmets on. Haven't you heard the arguments from the very same people who accused the NYPD and other municipal law enforcement agencies of using Gestapo-like tactics, military tactics? Now they're claiming that the Capitol Police should have had full body armor, should have had helmets, should have had shields, should have had batons, should have had more of the mace and the pepper spray. Would you have taken high school shooting bicycles to be? Come on. Can you see that as threatening a civil rights when a cop is on a bicycle? Come on. 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go right to those calls. 1-800-848-9222. So much. Oh. You heard Escalade? Congressman Dominican represents the South Bronx, Washington Heights, and that area of Manhattan. Unfortunately, he's been diagnosed as being positive with coronavirus. But yesterday, he was the craziest of all when it came to giving each congressperson an opportunity. I think they give each a minute to talk about how...
Hey, how you doing?
Afternoon.
You going downtown? Okay. Manhattan. 55 Water, yeah. Downtown, you're going downtown.
Downtown, yes. Water Street.
Hey, I realize you don't cut that Latin blood running coursing through his veins and arteries. But hey, that's the rock. Yes, man, you got coronavirus now, and I hope you're not talking at that level. Anyway, let's go to the phones, 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go to Nick calling from Fort Washington. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Nick. How are you, sir? Thanks for having me on. Job
senator wasn't to lose it. They're trying to ruin him. They're trying to basically just absolutely ruin the family and their finances and just build to the point.
Now, Nick, question here. When you say they, who does that include when you say they are trying to ruin he, meaning the president and the company?
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Jesus Christ, we're talking about from big tech to corporations. Now we're seeing the city of New York remove, basically saying that they're going to remove or take their contracts away. They haven't even been tried in court to be say that they were guilty of criminal activity. It's gotten to a point where really, and they're trying to destroy.
Well, remember this. Understand this, Nick. You make it sound like it's one huge cabal. Don't exempt even friends of Donald Trump. Don't just assume it's the enemies. The king is dead as far as they're concerned, and as much as you're right, the Democrats they're jumping on his bones. You know, it's like they shot him, they killed him, they buried him, they're dragging his bones out of a grave. They want to just drag him through the streets. So a lot of Republicans out there who are very supportive of Donald Trump, who want him out of their lives and the Trump family. They don't want the threat. Whether it's Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, any of the other Trumps who want to run for political office, that they're around because they realize it may deprive them of their opportunities to get elected, especially in 2024. So understand, and this is true in the streets, when you make as many enemies as Donald Trump has made, and then you call them out, and you say you're going to war against them, there are consequences when you do that. And at a weak moment, and this was certainly a weak moment, especially after the election, he lost it. You don't think that even some of your own friends are going to take advantage of you, turn on you, and put a boot to the back of your neck? Come on, that's Darwinian. Has nothing to do with politics. Let's go to Nick in Westchester. Your turn to be heard here at WABC. Nick?
Hey, Nick. Curtis, thanks for taking my call.
Hey, my name ain't Nick. My name ain't Nick. Well, I wouldn't have minded being called Nick growing up, because you can imagine the Italian-American community, Curtis. They say, Curtis, what's that? Yeah, if I'd have been Nick, I would have been considered a supreme cuisine.
Nicola is the real name.
Oh, okay.
Just a quick comment. I mean, with the suppression of what's going on, with media, what's going on with what the Democrats are imposing on the country as a whole, it's just reminiscent of the Cultural Revolution during the 70s and the 60s as it relates to what the communists were doing in China.
Hold on a second. Hold your horses down. You're talking the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong, where he went to the universities, he had his minions drag out the professors, drag out the intelligentsia, drag out and execute anyone who is opposed to his killing regime. You're not comparing it to the Cultural Revolution. Hold on. Boy, is that over the top. It's not the cultural.
Wondering about why no one investigated all the other riots that they had.
This kind of anarchy taking place in the streets of America during the administration of the law and order president definitely cost them some support, because their attitude goes way together. Even though it is happening in cities with Democratic mayors, this is happening on your watch. This is happening on your watch. And so some of it was political, but some of it was just political. It was an attack on police. Not all police supported Donald Trump, but it was an attack on police. And it was an attempt to basically take away from our police their opportunity to keep peace and tranquility in the neighborhood. painted lettered mail. Yeah, that was the family from Paramus. He won a vote for me to be mayor in 2021. I appreciate it, but he did recognize that being in the most corrupt of all corrupt states, New Jersey, the Soprano state, that even there, you couldn't vote for somebody in New York. So, Mike, you're very generous offer here. It like warms the coddles of my soul.
Well, you're about the only one that can bring about order to this city right about now.
No, actually, there are quite a few people, if given the opportunity, but what has happened is we have rendered our police impotent, we have castrated them, and after today's announcement by what is considered the top law enforcement officer in all of New York City, Tish James, she is going to be forcing more men and women out of the profession of policing, as she is blaming them for violating the rights of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, especially when they were rioting, especially when they were looting. 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go to Ted, who's calling from Forest Hills. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Ted.
How are we doing? Will you come out of the mansion, the mayor's mansion, to visit me on Metropolitan Avenue?
I have to. I got to do visitation of my two youngest sons, Carter and Hunter, who live there in Forest Hills. So, of course, you'll see me there.
Right. I want to say no good deed of President Trump goes unpunished. Don't forget, hospitals have to allow people in. They're big and private. Columbia, NYU's are private institutes. They have to let people in. They can't deny them. And, you know, there's going to be war against NATO countries. The communists resist it.
No, hold on. There's going to be war against NATO countries.
Yeah.
And who will be...
Start pushing against NATO countries.
Who's going to lead this battle against NATO?
Russia and China.
Russia and China, I see. I don't know if I want to meet that guy on Metropolitan Avenue in Forest Hills. That guy's walking around thinking that the Russians and the Chinese are going to have a pincer movement against the countries of NATO, of which we are one, including Turkey, Erdogan.
Entertaining and informative talk from New York. Streaming now on your smart speakers. Close 77 WABC.
You know, when my youngest sons were really young, they used to jump on my pad and play King of the Hill. One would be on my right shoulder, one would be on my left shoulder, Hunter, and they used to grab and hold on to me, and I'd have to be walking, you know, like a robotic monster, walk. Well, let me tell you, one time I was walking through
to making your state even better with exceptional experiences, grateful service, and unparalleled speed on the ground. Features American with a pungent spread of the breakers tropical beach foam and serve the facade for refreshing food. Relax at the breakers exquisite spa and invigorate your senses at the indoor-outdoor ocean festival center. Enjoy the look of the dining, world-class projects, champion football, and more. As you prepare for your landing, you can also take comfort in knowing that the breakers offers the highest standards of comprehensive health and safety practices to protect our team, guests, and families. So, what are you waiting for? To reserve your vacation, visit thebreakers.com. Call 1-800-BREAKERS or contact your travel advisor. Listeners, we look forward to welcoming you to the Breakers Palm Beach, where happy returns. I've traveled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was quoted all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth. It was actually EPI.
Pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and headaches too.
An EPI symptom is indicative of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, and food allergies.
I'm getting from my body deficiency more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and help with our appetite.
Good news. EPI is medicine. So don't wait any longer. Use your symptom checker and identify EPI doctor. Or schedule a visit with your doctor today. Hey, I have EPI.
Thank you for asking.
Congress will form a commission to rein in media. To rein in media. Robespierre, the Paris Commune. Flashbacks to the French Revolutions. Robespierre, the Paris Commune. Rein in media. What does that mean? She says it's one thing to have different points of view. But it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false, so that's something that we're looking into stopping. Who determines what is true? Who determines what is false? The squad? Led by the girl from Westchester County, what is that, Tarrytown Heights? Yeah, it's not from the Bronx. Not like Jay from the Bronx. No, not like J-Lo. J-Lo's the chick. Not AOC all-out crazy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
You talk, we listen. This is Talk Radio 77 WABC. Heard the good news about COVID-19 vaccines? Yeah, they're coming, but you can do a lot more than just wait. See, you have the power to help slow the spread. Actually, you can be a real difference maker and protect your family and loved ones, too. Here's how. Watch your distance. Stay at least 6 feet away from folks you don't love. And assist you to be indoors with your feet, no matter how far apart you are. And of course, avoid crowds. Also, wear a mask. CDC reports that masks protect both the person wearing them and the folks around them from particles carrying them out. And wash your hands. Use soap and water for 20 seconds. And do it frequently. Watch your distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands. Protecting and water the vaccine.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Like appreciation of
efforts to contain the virus and pay for basic services. Mike Hemp in Washington.
Another vaccination site in New York City at the Fort Washington Avenue Armory in Washington Heights. The latest state sites are open into Jones Beach, but appointments there are currently booked up through April. More than 7 million New Yorkers are now eligible to get the COVID vaccine. Problem is, the state only gets 300,000 doses a week. Well, getting a vaccine has certainly become a frustrating experience for millions of Americans. In Mississippi, where so many people try to get appointments, they ran out of the vaccine. What's currently numbered 6,161. This morning, Arizona 5,055. The number of people vaccinated. Enforcement on Long Island, where many tried to log onto a website for appointments. Just was on immortalizing a music icon, Entertainment. Hey NYC, COVID-19 can spread fast between people living in the same household. If you feel sick or think you've been exposed, don't wait. Separate. That's right. Immediately separating from your loved ones or roommates is the best way to avoid transmitting the virus to your family and friends. But in NYC, with our small living spaces, separating is not that easy. The NYC Test and Trace 4 Take Care program is here to help. There's a free safe hotel room with meals, Wi-Fi, even TV, and more. There's even on-site clinical monitoring there. We can also help you separate safely at home if the hotel isn't right for you. And connect you to resources like Christmas and healthcare. Take Care programs is also connected to quickly, so you don't have to worry about missing work. Every New Yorker is eligible, regardless of where they live. That the entire National Mall is going to be closed on Inauguration Day due to fear of domestic terrorism. Former presidential candidate Andrew Yang officially throws his hat in the ring for mayor of New York. A
A new study looks at the real-life version of the mythical creatures from Game of Thrones. Headwinds active at our clouds and sun today, the high 48. This is Lisa Ferretti at Bloomberg. What Taco Bell is doing to try to bring in younger customers, and Fitbit's sister company, Google, on users' private data. Wednesday News Time, 1:41. Traffic and transit. Here's Greg Ray.
MS continues in the Bronx, southbound Deegan coming down towards 138th Street. Now has the two flag lines knocked out as they try to clear away the DOT truck that broke down. The earlier crash in the same spot, that's all gone, but the next remains from the cross Bronx all the way on down. Elsewhere in the borough, westbound Bruckner blinched up to the Sheridan cross Bronx, the worst of it out at the George as you hit the brake lights there from Westchester Avenue, and you don't see the speed limit until you're onto the span of the outbound George Washington Bridge. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Citybound George is fine. Lincoln and Holland, they both behave. Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge awful across the span. The bridges to and from Staten Island are fine, but the westbound Staten Island Expressway, anything but. It's a mess from Swanson Avenue all the way on out towards Richmond Avenue, all because of construction work. Jersey 78 locals a mess either way. Over to exit 56, stay with the express lanes. They will live up to their name. And Long Island Expressway and Nassau West out of Willis Avenue, crosswalk the lanes, makes a mess either way. Not in the truck. More New State instead. That's the right way. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 West.
Police investigate a murder and possible poisoning in Queens Village. This was at 22115 Hempstead Avenue.
In the hallway of the building, police say they found what a neighbor described.
A person that discovered the emotionally disturbed man in the hallway. They called 911. There were no 911 calls from the apartment itself.
NYPD Assistant Chief Joe Kenny says the man in his 30s told officers he'd hurt someone inside his family's apartment. Inside, they found the man's 72-year-old father and his parents' stab wounds. A pair of scissors was nearby. And his mother, brother, and sister in his blood. A mattress in the living room unconscious.
interesting form of, what we call it, sourdough system. Let's go to Tommy in the Bronx Lifelong caller here to WABC.
I'd like to say that when the CIA or FBI wants to pull numbers on the public here, believe this or not, they go to Canada and bring in Canadian nationals, misfits, to pull numbers on the public here.
Tom, I've always had a problem with the Canada Goose, aka Canada Geese, those illegal aliens who fly into our country and poop everywhere in all of our public facilities, and then you slip on the poop and you fall on your tush. We need to round up these Canada Geese, aka Canada Goose, and deport them now. Let's go to John in Manhasset. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Johnny.
Sure, Justin Reed is trying to push through reparations again. Nobody knows. She wants reparations. Go against the Africans that sold the Africans into slavery.
All right, now, are we talking Spike Lee, 40 acres and a mule reparations? I'll have to check up on that to Ted and Yonkers. Your turn, Ted.
Hey, Curtis, how you doing? You're the greatest as usual. Hey, Curtis, Jay Sekulow decided he won't defend Trump in the impeachment trial that will go on in the Senate, and I love a lawyer. Trump fishing on
Well, you got to listen to Ruby. Ted, you've had some good sparring matches with Ruby on the phone, and he will be from 3 to 4 as he does every Monday through Friday. I have a feeling that that's not true. And by the way, why did you need to step away and the guy's already laid out the case. Let's go to Anthony. Your turn to be heard here at WABC. Anthony.
Hey, Curtis. So at what point do we get to go after Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi for their abuse of power? You're always going after Trump. Why not role reverse?
Very interesting. Well, you see, Pelosi is saying she's going to be on the outside looking in after 2 years of ruining our lives. But that's not true if the schmuck will make that the cuts. Chuck E. Cheese humor. Let us go. We're winding up on this, the most requested of the many segments here at WABC, the Rapid Fire Edition at WABC. Your turn, Jimmy, from New York.
Irene can't this, the PBA, can't they do, like, disbarment or something towards what she's been doing? Because, I mean, the police have a right, they have civil rights as well, and they're in danger to protect themselves.
You're talking Pittsburgh, from 34 to NYPD for saying they violated Antifa and Black Lives Matter's rights in the demonstrations, riots, looting over the summer. And she accuses them of using their Pee-wee Herman bicycles to food. Unmanly, unwomanly for cops to be on bicycles to begin with. Anyway, let's go to Dennis, who's calling from Suffolk. Your turn to be heard here at WABC, Dennis.
Hey, hi, Curtis. I'm calling from Long Island. Hello? Hello, Dennis.
What a cowboy. What is do now? What is your do? He knows it's 10 to 15 seconds. And there he is. He's like, he's stuck. He's reaching for a lifeline, like I'm going to save the guy.
Speak, King Leo from Brooklyn. Your turn to be heard here.
What's more disrespectful than getting oral sex in the Oval Office? Comparison to put your feet on a desk.
Good. But we can remember that moment. Outside was Robbie. And yes, I was waiting, and it wasn't the announcement of the potential peace treaty between the Palestinians and the Israelis. The brewers and the Republicans put Cuban cigar pressurizing Monica Lewinsky at that time. That's right. We know it's true. And then after she had the gall to share that cigar, the Prime Minister of Ireland, and yes, had the shot.
WABC Traffic in transit. There's a backup in Nassau County and the LIE westbound. We're looking at delays from Post Road out to Willis Avenue. Looks like we've got an accident in that construction zone. The Van Wyck is in bad shape. Southbound Van Wyck jammed from just south of the LIE down to Atlantic Avenue. Northbound Van Wyck backed up from Linden Boulevard to Atlantic Avenue. We're also looking at delays westbound on the BQE from Metropolitan Avenue down towards the Brooklyn Bridge. And in Jersey, very heavy traffic on Route 78. The express lanes of Route 78, both west and eastbound, right around the Garden State Parkway, backed up with construction. I'm James Lake, Talk Radio 77 WABC. New York's home for entertaining talk. Streaming now on your smart speaker. Just say,
Hi, 77 WABC.
Hi, I'm attorney John D'Agostino. If you've been injured, you have a lawyer who knows what you're going through. I understand how one accident can turn your whole world upside down. I've been there. I'm a local guy. I grew up on these streets and worked all through law school. After school, I built my practice one time at a time. It didn't matter where they lived. It didn't matter how big or small the case was. I was there to make sure someone paid. Why? Because I've been there. I now run D'Agostino & Associates, personal injury law firm I built right here in New York, New Jersey. For over 30 years, D'Agostino & Associates has been helping accident victims get every dollar they deserve. We've recovered millions of dollars for people just like you. Call now, 888-24-LAW-24. D'Agostino & Associates, personal injury law firm that offers free consultation. And if you can't make it to us, we're going to come to you. I've been there. Call now, 888-24-LAW-24. 888-24-LAW-24. D'Agostino Law Fight Back.
this hour sponsored by Mattress Firm. For a limited time, save up to $300
On to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one.
Mattress Firm. Plus, get a free adjustable base with your $6.99 mattress purchase. Only during the year-end sale at Mattress Firm. At Simply Grayson Farms, they believe that what you put in is what you get out. They're family-owned and operated with farms in New Jersey, New York, and Virginia. Focusing on as the East Coast's premier producer and wholesale distributor, 100% grass-fed beef, pasture-raised, pork, and
On to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. Starbucks. Hey, I know. You're gonna take the FDR.
FDR, sure, of course, yeah. Right.
Inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in person and via telephone. therapy is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
For the 13 rescue tags that we have, and I must have popped a double hernia. Oh, man. It was painful. Why not many of you, you're lifting things? You're lifting things, sometimes you shouldn't be lifting things, and then all of a sudden it's either an old injury or it's a new injury, and they need physical rehab. Only you do not according to Tish James, is the NYPD accused them of using excessive force with batons, pepper spray, and bicycles, and then charged them with kettling, which is like they're trying to sort of confine a group in a really small area to keep them safe, to keep everyone else safe, but oh, that's a civil rights violation. The top law enforcement agent in New York State, Tish James. Hey, turn in your stinking badge. You turned against the police, and you sided with Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Just face it, that's where your sympathies are. We'll find out from a real tough guy, a guy who wore his badge honorably for years, former police commissioner Ray Kelly, up next on the Curtis Silver Show.
Talk radio for New York and all America. 107.1 WLIR-FM, Hampton Bays, and
nationwide manhunt for Lisa Brady. Fox News. Arrests are being made around the country after last week's assault on the U.S. Capitol. Tens of thousands of tips pour in about images from the breach. FBI officials just confirming that a man who was carrying a Confederate flag at the Capitol turned himself into U.S. Marshals in Wilmington, Delaware today. The investigation ongoing, along with the heightened security measures for next week's inauguration. Capitol Hill police are so on edge, I'm told, after last week's attack. They're requesting more and more National Guard. Authorization so far is up to 20,000, more than twice what was mobilized for the Obama inauguration when threats were also reinforced from the Justice Department Inspector General and the Federal Administration, accusing DOJ leadership failing to prepare to implement the non-informed local prosecutors. Children would be separated, and they still understand they would be separated longer than the few hours. And that was established last on. More than 3,000 separations occurred, and some children have never been reunited with their families. Lisa? Thanks, Rachel. The Justice Department just announced an indictment on terror charges for
Michigan Attorney General, Democrat Damon Nessel. The bill from the collective duty in a flint water crisis. Nessel's homepage solicitor general Pablo Hamoud and Wayne County prosecutor, Democrat Tim Worthy, led the criminal case.
This case has nothing whatsoever to do with partisanship. Japanese automaker agrees to pay $180 million over U.S. allegations it failed to report defects to the Commission
Lost satellite reception.
U.S. government says that led to excessive pollution in millions of vehicles while benefiting the company financially. Under the settlement, Toyota also agrees to investigate future emission-related defects quickly and report them to the EPA in a timely manner. It's vaccination day for the Pope and his predecessor.
The Vatican says Pope Francis received the first shot of the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine on Thursday. The 84-year-old Pope and the 93-year-old former Pope Benedict receiving their jabs as part of the Vatican vaccination program that began on Wednesday. The pontiff, who turned 84 in December, is considered high risk. He's missing part of one lung since his surgery in his 20s.
Fox says CJ Papa stocks are higher, both the Dow and the NASDAQ hitting new records so far during today's session. That means the Brady. Fox News. Now what's trending on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. I'm New York's Attorney General is suing the NYPD over brute force enforcement use at George Floyd's Black Lives Matter protest last summer and wants his federal monitoring stalled. The complaint mentions dozens of examples, including the indiscriminate, unjustified, and repeated use of batons, pepper spray, and a crowd-controlled tactic known as kettling. The suit accuses the NYPD of failing to address a long-standing pattern of abuse by not properly training, supervising, or disciplining officers. It names the police commissioner and Mayor de Blasio. I'm Christine Marks for 77 WABC News. Tech entrepreneur and former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang kicked off his campaign for mayor this morning in Brooklyn.
We will lift hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers out of extreme poverty, putting cash relief directly into the hands of the families who desperately need help right now.
Mayor Bill de Blasio says the city will open vaccination clinics in NYCHA developments, providing on-site options for residents 65 and up. Sports, the Nets beat the Knicks last night, 116-109. On the ice, the Rangers host the Islanders tonight. The Devils host the Bruins. WABC News Time, 2:04. Traffic and transit are next. Now your forecast from the Ramsey Subaru Weather Center. 48 degrees, mixed sun and clouds, dropping to 36 tonight. Tomorrow, 45 the high, mild weekend ahead, mid-40s. Morning rain on Saturday. From the 77 WABC News Desk, I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
WABC, traffic and transit. In Jersey, a lot of traffic westbound express lanes of Route 78, right around 21 McCarter Highway. We've got construction set up there. Slow of traffic eastbound on Route 22 from Bloy Street out to North Broad Street. We're also looking at an accident in Sussex County, westbound on Route 80 in Alamucci. Just past exit 19, there's a collision. That's causing delays. Nassau County, there's an accident on the westbound LIE right at Willis Avenue. Traffic is backed up from Post Road out to Willis Avenue. It's bumper to bumper. I'm Jason Lace, Talk Radio 77 WABC. Talk Radio 77 WABC. Mark Levin, entertaining and informative.
But the Democrat Party is something personal. So you have to have allegiance, not to your country, not to your flag, not to your anthem, it's allegiance to the Democrat Party. The party substitutes the government. The party substitutes the country. It's all about the party.
Ring 1, Mark Levin. Weeknights at 6. Listen on the 77 WABC mobile app.
Saturday at a new time of 3 p.m. It's The Energy Show with Ron Irvin, with tips on energy efficiency that save you money for residential, commercial, and industrial property. The Energy Show at its new time, Saturday at 3 p.m.
The founder of the Guardian Angel.
We're dedicated to fight crime.
On the streets of New York and on the air right now, Curtis Lewa on
77 WABC. At the top of the news, the New York Attorney General Tish James is suing the NYPD over what she claims is excessive force at the Black Lives Matter protests over the summer. No better person to comment on that than former New York City Police Commissioner and CEO of Guardian Group, Ray Kelly. Thanks for joining us, Ray.
Curtis, always good to be with you. Thank you.
Now, I detect anger in your voice because not only is she suing, not only does she want a federal monitor, but she's saying this should deal with a long pattern system of abuses performed by the NYPD against the community. And I think she's basically referring to the time you were police commissioner, Brad, and she might as well take it back to when Teddy Roosevelt was the original police commissioner.
Well, listen, there's a lot here to talk about, but this is an outrageous lawsuit. You had 400 cops injured during the George Floyd demonstrations. We had pictures of cops being hit in the head with fire extinguishers. We had them wearing struck with his foot behind his back. We had firebombed the radio cars. These are people who showed up cause of action here. This ludicrous charge that somehow their First Amendment rights were violated. All you have to do is look at the newscast. They took over City Hall Park for a month. They took over bridges. They took over Washington Square Park. Every time they had a march, there was always invariably broken windows, smashed windows. So the whole notion that the First Amendment was not exercised properly by demonstrators it's just insane. But that's where we are these days. The police are to blame for everything. Forget about what it is. They're the problem. It's just what we need is another monitor. So I hope this is seen as just another political ploy. But these days in New York, I don't know. You don't know what the outcome will be with a lawsuit like this and with people like this.
Now, you were the longest-serving police commissioner in New York City, Ray Kelly. If imposed upon the NYPD, what does a federal monitor do? Because I think we've had this once before, correct?
No, we didn't have it in New York. We have a federal monitor for stop, question, and frisk now. But other cities have had federal monitors. What it does is basically grinds police departments to a halt. It can de facto do nothing or do very little. We saw it in lots of different cities, Philadelphia, other cities. This was done under the Obama administration. Under the Trump administration, this was just eliminated. They didn't do that. But the monitoring concept surfaced in the Obama administration. And again, the results are virtual shutdown on the part of the police departments that have been affected by it.
Now, she used the term charging the cops with kettling. Could you explain that? Because I think the average citizen has no idea what she's talking about as a tactic that the police will sometimes use the NYPD at a demonstration.
Yeah, I don't know where that term came from, but it's not a police department term, not a police department jargon. But I think what they mean is to push people into a confined space and then you're able to arrest them. That's my best interpretation of it. I don't go through a complaint about cops using bicycles as a weapon, but I think they use it as a barricade, and I think that's perfectly legitimate in cities throughout the country. So some of this stems from the DOI report that was done on the department's conduct post George Floyd, and I think that was a totally political document. This appears to be an offshoot of that. It's politics as usual, but if any right-minded person would say that those demonstrators certainly had ample opportunity to exercise their First Amendment rights. A ludicrous proposal.
It's interesting, former police commissioner Ray Kelly, that she's talking about what the cops in New York had, batons, pepper spray, bicycles. And yet we saw in the takeover of the House and the Senate the other day at the Capitol that now there are cries from members of the House of Representatives to ask, where were
Where were the police's batons, pepper spray? Where were the bicycles? Where were the barricades? It seems like they wanted everything in Washington, D.C. during that siege for their police that Tish James is claiming the police should not have when there's a demonstration. It's mind-blowing.
You're absolutely right, but there's still a very good question as to where were they in Washington? They looked like they were unprepared, they were ill-equipped, so there's a lot of questions to be answered there. They are the most political police force probably in the world, because they report to 535 elected congressmen and senators. So I'd like to know what happened there myself. Apparently the chief who resigned indicates that the sergeant at arms, who they nominally report to, told them to sort of take a light approach to it. Interesting also that Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, sent a communication to the Justice Department on the Monday before the riot, asking them to take a light touch. Why? Why was she involved? There was a lot of unanswered questions, but it certainly looks like they were quite unprepared, and we can see the results of the riot.
Well, we're now hearing many of the federal agencies, the FBI and others, claiming, we had intel. But I think the question is, Ray Kelly, if they had the intel, like they had before the attack of 9/11, what did they do with the intel? Did they disperse it? Did they share it? What are the normal means that the federal government is supposed to use to share intel when they see a serious problem that may affect public safety in a locale?
I don't know if it was identified as a real serious problem because there was no specificity to it, I'm told. But what they do is they send it out through a channel. For instance, in Washington and other big cities, there's a joint terrorism task force. And you may have as many as 20, 30 agencies associated with the task force. They sort of send it out in a shotgun fashion. What did this contain? I don't know as far as the specifics are concerned. Who received it? What was their reaction to it? I mean, was it seen as being as serious as it turned out to be? I don't know. We don't know the answer. That's why you need an in-depth examination of this by a commission. And I'm sure Congress will do, because they're certainly concerned about their own safety. So they will put something together. I certainly hope it's not politicized. But they'll put a commission together that will ask a lot of these questions. But clearly, they were caught short. And I think we all would like to know why.
Now, I think previously, in previous years, we would oftentimes see more law enforcement than was necessary to deal with demonstrations, just in case, better safe than sorry. And oftentimes, they were the men and women, they were like a block away, 2 blocks away, they were in buses or vans or cars, and they would only respond if things got out of control. None of that happened at the Capitol. What we saw was the few that were there. Should they have had a backup plan? Because their argument is, well, we didn't want to have a show of force. There seems to be this sort of cause celeb now. We don't want to show too many cops. We don't want them to be in body armor with bats and hats and, all kinds of what some people perceive of as weapons of war. But should they at least be sort of maybe a block or 2 away so that if the problem does emerge, they can quickly respond?
Of course. You have groups in reserve ready to respond if it goes out of control. And what you do is you coordinate, you work with other agencies, you do your planning with other agencies beforehand, and if necessary, you pull in all the forces. In Washington, there's the Metropolitan Police Department, there's the Park Police, there's the Secret Service uniform plants. There's thousands of police officers in Washington besides the Capitol Police, which the number is about 2,300. There's a significant force there that could have been mobilized and could have been used to prevent this type of incursion, prevent them from getting on the property. What they need now, at the very least, is a White House-type fence around the Capitol. As it stands now, you can just walk up to the Capitol. You can no longer have that. So they needed a sensible fence or some sort of barrier that prevents people from just walking onto the property. And perhaps they need a task force along the agency of gun motion to get together and talk about protecting all the public buildings in Washington. It looks like there was a lack of coordination. It wasn't until the riot really got going that they were able to have other police departments respond. I don't know if they were put on alert before this or what. It looks like a real hodgepodge that needs to be thoroughly examined.
A lot of people don't remember out of the many things that you served our country and our city. You were the customs commissioner in the term of Bill Clinton, law enforcement agency. Did those agencies share information? Were they generous in sharing information, or were like squirrels sort of gathering nuts, and like you really had to go out of your way to get it from them?
I think there was some of that in the past. I think 9/11 changed all of that. No agency wants to be caught wholly in the bag now, so everybody's talking to everybody else. Those days are gone. Now, if some of that's happening, it's not significant in my view. So, the information that is gathered is out there, but a lot of times it's not specific. It's very general in nature. And it's a little bit of CYA.
You are in the corner, fine.
And that was your problem. But again,
Put to the side here. Like the traffic. Okay, just this way is one bicycle, wait, is one car.
200 members of Antifa, fully clad, black.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Masks, but they always wore that before the pandemic. Black helmets, black batons, black shields. They looked like they were going into the gladiator pit, marching down right through Times Square, screaming, "Whose streets are streets?" placed on their bicycles on both sides. Is that legal, what they did, to have those kinds of weapons, shields, batons, hats and bats that normally would have been considered previously weapons?
I think technically it probably is legal, but that's where we are. Let's assume for a moment that it isn't. It's a minor violation. What district attorney in New York City in this day and age is going to prosecute that? None of them. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs in terms of what the district attorneys have capitulated to. But minor crimes, quality of life violations, forget about it. There's no place to go with that. So, the police department's hands are tied. They were attempting to stop those people giving summonses. They probably were going to fight, okay, but, the district attorney, I think, stand and face like that, wouldn't prosecute these cases. They didn't prosecute the cases after the George Floyd incident. So there's no reason to think they prosecute that case. But quite frankly, I can't think of any violation. I don't think having those weapons against the law, maybe, but I'm not going to see any action in this time frame.
We appreciate your input. That's former New York City Police Commissioner and CEO of the Guardian Group, Ray Kelly.
Listen, this is Talk Radio 77 WABC.
I know a lot of people don't know that Ray Kelly, in the many things that he's done in his life, was the boxing commissioner for New York State. He's a boxing enthusiast. You better believe that he had calluses busting his shoes out there as a patrolman and busting a few schnozzes himself out there, although he looked like he had his schnoz vested at one point. I would bet you Ray Kelly, unlike some of the other police commissioners who were academic police commissioners alone, probably has many aches and pains. He's up there in his years. And probably when he wakes up, like so many of us nowadays, you have slight aches and pains. They come and go all throughout the day. They permeate your day. At times they affect your personality. You become a crabby crumb taker curmudgeon. People are wondering, what's wrong with you? When really it is these persistent pains. We're not talking about the type that will force you to go for a chiropractic adjustment or to have a body cast put on from the tip of your nose to the tip of your toes. But there is relief. It's called Relief Factor. Now, how do I know? Because I've been on this regimen each and every day when I started the 3-week Quick Start program after a conversation with Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son owners of Relief Factor, who understood that inflammation was at the root of all of these aches and pains that surface, retire, and annoying at you. And they commissioned doctors to figure out what's the fuel that you could put into your own body to help heal this and relieve it and stamp down the inflammation. And you see, your body can deal with most of these problems if given the right fuel. And they have perfected it with a 100% drug-free supplement that'll cost you like $1 a day later on in the process, maybe like the price of a cup of coffee. What am I talking about? The 3-week Quick Start program that'll cost you just $19.95 for WABC listeners. In fact, to go on the Relief 3-week Quick Start program, go online to relieffactor.com. That's relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF.
Gary Goldberg, founder of Gary Goldberg Financial Services. The market and world events affect your portfolio. Every Saturday at 11 a.m. It's Money Matters with Gary Goldberg. If you're searching for a caring and compassionate law firm, your search is over. The Staten Island law firm of Angiuli and Gentili. They're highly skilled and they handle thousands of clients just like you. Practicing law for more than 35 years. They can help you walk with confidence. Gary Angiuli and Anna Marie Gentili are really caring people.
Juliet. Jets and Juliet.
What would you have them do? I presented a couple of ideas. I want Liz Cheney to
Jets
show
and Juliet.
that she's against insurrections and incitement of insurrection from public office holders by impeaching on hour one Kamala Harris and she's installed as de facto president. I want her impeached for raising money for domestic terror groups that burned down our cities and got cops killed because she's not going to sit down next week. So what do you want to do? How would you respond in a non-cowardly way if you bring in change to the Republican Party in DC?
We've got to have people start to stand up for principle. The principle is you've got a montage that Mayoral put out, and many of them have put out, of them doing the exact same thing in a much higher level they're accusing us of doing. And you've stated a couple of things that could be done very easily. But one thing for sure is these 10 Republicans that jumped on board, they're the epitome of cowardice. And they will go with wherever the wind is blowing at the time, which I think Mitch McConnell is right along with that crowd.
So I was talking earlier about the 10 Republicans. Liz Cheney is one of them. Gonzalez of Ohio, Jamie Brewer up in Washington, John Tulso of New York, and part of one of them is going to demand an investigation into vaccine water exchange. Going to say that Kamala Harris said that they shouldn't stop and they wouldn't stop and that they continue. This is the tax Republicans pay. This is the tax Republican people have. This is the tax. They're not inciting insurrection. So is what Governor Inslee, the so-called Governor Inslee does in Washington State, where he refuses to let federal officers do their job. Or what Ted Wheeler did in the governor, the so-called Governor Gordon, Kit Brown allowed people to attack with IEDs. And folks, you think it's bizarre, but I'm telling you, they brought a heavy circular saw to try to saw through the gate of the federal courthouse. They tried to light it on fire multiple times while there were federal officers inside. They tried to burn these people to death just like they tried to in Seattle. My colleague Jason Reyes at KCTH broke the story. He is apparently the son of a former Democrat office holder who swung a bat at the back of the head of an officer and would have killed him if he didn't have his bike covered up. He also broke the story about people trying to steal police officers in a construction trailer and then burn it down.
No one from these camps has said we demand that Joe Biden also no one from the camp led by this field is demanding the Kamala Harris and we appeal to shut down the fundraising of Black Lives Matter program, which is neither a racial political entity nor is it a nonprofit, which is the act of a nonprofit. The test is now. After the green is installed and Kamala Harris is installed, the test starts 1 hour afterwards. It pass or fail. You are against insurrections and you are willing to use the power of your office to see that they are punished. It's pass or fail. So you have 1 hour. You can start drafting the resolutions now. You could just copy the one that they used against Trump and then add to that, oh, by the way, they succeeded. Time. And they're all grasping because not only do they want to put them on trial before the U.S. Senate, either a day after or 100 days after, but they also want to pass a second provision as part of that impeachment trial that would strip President Trump of his ability to run in the future for any federal office. Well, let's just talk about impeaching someone when they're out of office. Now, what do we look for? At the time, President Ulysses S. Grant, right? You go up there, 96th Street, West Side, Riverside Drive, you see his mausoleum. Nobody knows that that's President Grant there. Hero of the Civil War, right? Great general, but a booze hound, a lush. And then he became president, and he was a booze hound and a lush, as were most members of his cabinet, including the hopelessly corrupt Secretary of War, William Belknap, who was from, of course, New York, a very corrupt state even then. But they were all corrupt in the cabinet. They were being wine-dined in pocket lines, and especially the Secretary of War, who removed all the Union troops from the Black Hills after gold was discovered there, and said to his troops, screw the Lakota Indians, just give them smallpox lace blankets. Because there's gold in them hills, and we can take our own little, what can we say, plot, and become zillionaires. So he got caught with hands in the chest, and the House of Representatives wanted to take a vote to impeach him, just like we saw with President Trump yesterday. So what did he do? He beat them to the punch. He submitted his resignation to President Ulysses S. Grant minutes before the vote was set to take place. But you know what the House of Representatives did? They said, they ended up voting to impeach Belknap anyway later in the same day. So then it went right to the full Senate for a trial. He had his defenders, Belknap, after determining that, okay, I guess he candidate.
I do.
I just really need you to stop being angry about people picking me up because I was figuring it out. Worst comes to it. Yes, I know. But if no one can pick me up, I will tell Michelle and Jenny. And it's not like that, one man will be off duty, no one can pick me up. But I'd rather one of my friends did because I feel more comfortable coming out of hospital with all my friends there. So I'd rather, someone I properly know. Maya would be fine because she's, I know for the best. But it's still, I'd rather have someone I feel really comfortable with than someone I don't work with, Not that it would matter, like I'm sure Michelle and Jenny can come and pick me up. But I just feel more comfortable with someone that's Stephanie or Carly or who. Someone who I know would like be nice with me and stuff. And I wouldn't feel, I know, but there's nothing we can do. Do I say anything to the sergeant or because he's going to talk to me before operating? Do I say anything about what the NHS woman said? Okay. Feeney's dad has got the same thing as me in his wrist. And he and could have had it taken out, but like can't be bothered because he doesn't know it's there. He said 10% out of, you know, have a reaction to it. But I could have a reaction to it. Yeah. So I think I should just do it tomorrow. I mean, obviously I'll bring up the NHS when he said that, you know, I think he's probably right. So, feeling it's like we're going to have such bad problems at security, at airports. She says her dad struggles with it. But you know, maybe in like a year I can get it taken out. Because I don't really need for that. I'm really sad. Just to like, and they have to send updates to people during the surgery. Well, I did put Jenny as a second contact because she said I could put her down for everything. But I put you as my first one, as Jenny as my second. But I felt really bad giving her name. Because I didn't want to say it, because they were like last name and I didn't really want to say it, because it really like was her business. And yeah. And they said I'm allowed to take someone to all, but obviously I don't know anyone's going to be with. And I'm not going to ask someone like Jenny and Maya to sit there all day with me. Like on the phone, they're so nice, and everyone apart from like people who took my blood and scanned me today have been nice. Yeah. I think that it was just this one woman who was the video. And also, I think I'm being quite rude to people because I'm so stressed. Like, I called HSBC earlier and was like, Andrew, just because I'm like stressed. I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just very like, you know, Tom and the other British girl, Alice Jammel, or whatever her name is. And I logged on and saw all their fucking faces, which pissed me off even more. I tried to like flash my arm so maybe I get some sympathy. No, she doesn't message me, but if she doesn't message me and she knows about my album, she can fuck off. So, but I don't know if she does know, because not many people really know, not like Marina, Louise, Tom and Freddie and Carl and everyone. But, you know, if she does know and she hasn't messaged me, or, you know, will never speak to me again. And then I'd have to do this stupid rule selection until I'm not on the
Okay, thank you. Okay. Here is good. It's okay here? It's
okay, yeah, thank you.
On to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. Woo!
Any of the information about exactly how many senior citizens died while he was supervising their care when he imposed a crackdown on people visiting, going into, or having any contact with those in long-term therapeutic communities involving senior citizens. We know thousands died. You would think by now he would have released the figures. He refuses to do so. The chutzpah, the huevos, the culion. That's Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo. Now, Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo will always say one of the best things he's ever done is governor. And he now wants to run for a fourth term. That has his cook. Over my dead body, Andy. But the point being is, he wants to run for a fourth term, and he says, you know, one of the best things I've ever done is to promote Tish James, who was the public advocate of New York City, previously a city councilwoman from Brooklyn. And because I anointed her the Attorney General, she became the Attorney General. You would think the Attorney General should be investigating the governor. The same governor who put together a Moreland commission that was supposed to investigate the hopeless corruption in Albany in both the executive branch and the legislative branch. But the moment they finished with the legislative branch and started to follow the progressive breadcrumbs to the executive chambers, his own chambers, they closed the door to the Moreland Commission and almost went to jail because of it, like 9 of his cohorts. When Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, was on the cusp of indicting him.
Grab him. Delivery. DoorDash.
Well, what will this be, like the fourth or fifth book that Cuomo writes that nobody has ever read? I mean, come on, nobody reads these books. But let's hear Tish James, who is an attack dog against the Trump family, the Trump marketing plan, the Trump organization, and anything labeled Trump. She sues them morning, noon, and night, but she took off today so that she can sue the NYPD for, get this, civil rights violations against Antifa and Black Lives.
You my sunshine, my only sunshine. Make me happy.
The Attorney General is suing New York City police, accusing the department of excessive force during protests after the death of George Floyd last year. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has this live. Lawsuit filed by a County Attorney General Letitia James also includes the city of New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio, as well as NYPD leadership. She says her office found that during protests from May to December, NYPD officers engaged in excessive force as well as misconduct, including the indiscriminate, unjustified, and repeated use of batons, pepper spray, bicycles, and a crowd-controlled tactic known as kettling. They seek broad reforms and a monitor to oversee the NYPD during future protests. Lisa, will Tony, the police union?
I don't need when you guys cut this. I just want to hear the person involved. You think I really want to hear a series of Fox News, people of no consequence do an intro and an outro? No, let's get right to the meat and potatoes. This woman hates cops. That's what it is. Hates the NYPD with a passion. And you know, probably tonight on bended knee will become a Bill de Blasio, the part-time mayor, the Corporal Vice. Will probably go, you're right, I'm at fault too. Oh, please, man, please. Third part of the trifecta, the trucker. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said it all, it's all on three. I said, reign in the media. Which means, welcome to WABC, Carol.
Hi, Curtis. I have a question. I was wondering why the FBI did not contact either the Republicans or the Democrats prior to the impeachment to advise them that Trump did not cause the problems because of this speech.
Well, first of all, really not the jurisdiction. They're supposedly operating intel. How many times they were before the attack on 9/11? And that's known. That's the accident for everybody. For everybody to advise that clearly this may earn. You know, whoever's working with you. Children and great-grandchildren. Anyway, let's go to Freedom, who's calling from Oak Creek. Your turn to be heard here at WABC.
What's up, Curtis? How you doing? Glad to see you. Glad to talk to you. Hey, Curtis, I want to...
Hold on a second. A little corrective criticism to our many callers, and I do appreciate the fact that we are getting more callers than any other show because we actually go right to the caller. Unlike some other shows, which give out numbers, and then you say, oh, there we go. What are you going to come to the calls, right? When you say, how you doing? What am I supposed to say? How you doing? You know what my answer is going to be. I'm happy. Look at what's happening to our country. Look at what's happening to our city. So a lot of the tickets that talk radio callers seem to have. How you doing? Understand freedom?
You still there, brother?
Yeah, I'm still there. I just was using you just as a form of corrective criticism to our many callers.
Oh, Lord. Hey, Curtis, here's my question. Did the NYPD ever fire a shot into unarmed protesters who were trying to occupy a space? Because that's what happened with Austin Gavin. They had no weapons. There was nothing there that said they were going to kill anybody. They were trying to occupy the space.
Freedom, I disagree with you completely. Actually, was a home invader. She invaded our house. She was warned. Cease and desist. And guess what? You invade my house, I drop you on the spot. Those are the ramifications. Those are the consequences.
Personal property and personal space.
Freedom,
that's the problem I have. I feel like
freedom, that's breaking and entering.
Why? But you can't kill people for that.
Turn this off. I'm sorry. It's just right here, the speaker. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It'll give you a headache. First side here.
On the left-hand side, wherever you can pull over, is fine. Thank you.
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh my God. Let's go to Mike, all the way up in Yonkers. We had just heard from the Geese police there. Where were you at Nodine Hill, Mike?
No, I heard it was up by Central Park.
Okay, I know it well.
No, I've had better days, baby. I've had better experience.
We all.
Yeah, so look, every time that you haul with on 95 and head south, or on 80 and head west, because the type of things that are going around, like Christians and that cut that last week that you put earlier, that's download.
Let me tell you one thing though, Mike, you can blame Pitch Kane, she's the messenger, but the person who put the messenger in her position, her medici, is Andrew Eagle-Eyes Cuomo, King Cuomo the second, Lieutenant Mario Pacha Bruta Cuomo, King Cuomo the first. Again, I salute you. Andrew, attending to you, Provino Fachim, and like your father Mario, you are for sticking his shame on the NYPD, because she never would have sued the NYPD unless he sought your approval. And that's a fact.
York and all of America. 107.1 WMAR-FM, Hampton Bay, and
The CDC says only about 11 million more COVID shots and so far. Surgeon General Jerome Adams holding a briefing along with the Health and Defense Department.
We're currently seeing an uptick in the pace of vaccinations as we expected and predicted. Over 700,000 new vaccinations reported each day since Thursday, and we're on track to hit 1 million vaccinations per day in the near future.
The demand is there as states expand seats and get the shot along with updated federal guidelines. This is stop taking new appointments the same day they started expecting them, sending out monumental queues and attacks. In California, Disneyland, which remains closed because of the virus, is running open for the vaccination site. Doctors at William West in Omaha.
10,000 people showed up to receive a vaccine via the website crashed. 100 showed up to our appointment, about $3,000 stop. So get this. This is nothing new for Yes, Los Angeles is now been infected with the virus. This is the state hit more than 500 fatalities a day.
Deaths per day. The virus has now killed over 286,000 people in the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden scheduled to speak tonight about his plans for the COVID crisis and economic recovery. It's early for next week's inauguration. It's building. The U.S. National Guard is continuing to bring in reinforcements. There are vehicles, military vehicles, hardened vehicles arriving, along with more troops and supplies here at the Capitol. Fox's Jennifer Griffin also reporting the entire National Mall in D.C. will be closed to the public during the inauguration. America is listening to the Constitution.
What can help you take advantage of today's low mortgage rates and save money? Rocket can. You can save hundreds of dollars every month by refinancing with Rocket Mortgage at today's near historic low rate. If your current rate is over 4%, with today's low rates, you could lower your payment by over $150 a month, saving thousands in interest every year. With a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, you can consolidate and pay off high-interest debt, tackle home improvements that could add value to your home, or even set aside cash for your child's future education. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this. What can give you the technology to refinance easily and save money? Rocket can. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com. That's 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com.
We'll use the trunk for the luggage.
like over a rising social media platform dumped by Amazon is really just beginning.
Parler trying to get a federal court judge to force Amazon to allow Parler back on the AWS servers. President Trump was considering a move to Parler after his Twitter account was blocked, but Fox has learned Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner nixed the idea out of concern that Parler's platform was not secure enough. But then came last week's riot at the Capitol. Some are partially blaming Parler for allowing hateful calls for violence on its platform in the days and weeks leading up to the riot. Some Amazon employees were pressuring Amazon to dump Parler, and on Sunday, Amazon did just that, suspending its account, claiming Parler violated its contract by not doing a better job of policing content on the site.
Mario, yeah.
He's running for New York City mayor. New York City board and last night on an announcement from Harrison, which is right. The board had got to be a year ago. I become a member of Congress during the Texas City outbreak. And we had the violent insurrection against the U.S. Capitol and a vote to impeach Donald Trump. And it became the first year campaign guerrilla campaign. I would say that's quite a bit of drama left in the year. One Dr. Donald Trump, 77 building relations in the union. Traffic and transit in next. Now your forecast from the Ramsey Weather Center. 47 degrees, mid-side clouds, dropping to 36 tonight. Tomorrow, 35 the high, cloudy. Morning rain Saturday, high 36. Sunday to Saturday, mid-side clouds, high 33. On the 77 WABC News Desk, I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
Traffic and transit. There's an accident in Queens on the cross-heavy parkway southbound, right around Hempstead Turnpike. It's backing up traffic here southbound, just about to be along the down the accident site. It's bumper to bumper, it's just barely moving. Eastbound along the getting there, it's about a 28-30-minute ride down east from the BQE out to the cross-heavy parkway. Grand Central Parkway, not too bad through Queens. Up in the Bronx, we've got a slowdown westbound on the Cross-Bronx Expressway from the Bronx River Parkway out to the GWB. The outbound side of the Harlan and Lincoln still in pretty good shape. I'm Jude for Lakes Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Ideas on how to reach change.
This Sunday at 8:30 a.m. It's the Gas Roundtable with John Catherine and Dean. Good morning, America. This is the Gas Roundtable. John Catherine and Dean here, getting in both sides of the story. Sensibility. This Sunday at 8:30 a.m. It's the Gas Roundtable with John Catherine and Dean. Radio 77 WABC. up, I get to speak with you on Chat with the Mayor. Call me on the Tunnel to Towers Foundation hotline at 1-800-848-WABC. That's 1-800-848-9222. Help Tunnel to Towers to do good. Donate $11 a month at 2t.org. That's 2.org. And our number is 1-800-848-9222. Well, let me start talking about home first. This is the home of New York City, and Andrew ran the night for mayor of New York City today. I remember Andrew as a presidential candidate, rather than an effective presidential candidate, and I don't want to be unfair to him, but I seem to recall something in favor of something that is called universal income. President was impeached basically for inciting a riot. Now let's talk about the law, which is failing to Democrats, but we talk about the law. So that's not an issue. We haven't violated the law. You haven't violated the law. are free speech threats. In order to be convicted, you have to intend to incite or produce imminent lawless action. Imminent lawless action. Now, there's no evidence that he intended to incite or produce lawless action. He told people to act peacefully, he told people to be respectful, and he was passionate about his belief that the election was going on, and he decided to act belief. And also because he wanted to be that's all. And he spoke out strongly about it, and he made clear that to go to the Capitol, you should go peacefully, and you should not cause any trouble, and you should actually clap for the congressmen that are going to be involved. So Brandenburg says he must intend to incite or produce eminent lawless action. I think including his speech by saying go peacefully would kind of blow that up. The conduct must be likely to produce such action. Don't see how he asked for any conduct really. So the Brandenburg test on that in the case is not a good case. Once again, overwhelming desire just to punish this man, just to make sure you can't run for the election. I mean, shouldn't you know that people decide whether you should run for the election and not Nancy Pelosi and his enemies decide that? So this is a completely phony case. But does it meet the definition of incitement? So then they say, oh, we can impeach for things other than crimes. And it was bad. Like he organized it or something. The fact is there's impeccable proof that this was organized by other people. I have a string of tweets and meetings and now videos. I'm putting together a PowerPoint that shows that Antifa was involved in organizing this at least by the first the January, with a card that was sent around by a guy named John Sullivan, asking Antifa people to come to the rally to show their antipathy to the government. That was repeated again with another thing that he sent out. Then there was a training video where he dresses up in Antifa outfits and shows people what to wear and how to act and how to do it. And then there's another invitation and then there's his participation in the rally by breaking in and helping people break in a window, lead down this door, that door, aisle, and finally get to a place where it results in the shooting down of an innocent woman. Now, I just heard on the show before, on Curtis's show, that she was in the building illegally. I don't know that, but she was in the building illegally. But I just don't think this rises to the level of shooting somebody to death unless there was some really serious physical harm. And I didn't see it in that crowd. Maybe I'm missing something. But this was a woman who was a very, very good woman who's now gone because of the actions of a few people. This was organized by Antifa. There's a tweet today or some kind of a headshot in which John Sullivan's brother says there were 226 Antifa people there, but his brother got there to stoke the crowd, to push the crowd to more violence. On the videotape that exists, you can hear it. It's available on my podcast, available on my podcast, moviesense.com. And there you can see them on the tape. You can see them guiding the anarchists through different rooms, eventually finding the young boy, and finding a location that they wanted. They had mostly people with them that certainly did not look like Trump supporters. There's no doubt from the conversations that he had that a lot of Antifa people were there and were running there. And then there was this whole situation at the end, and I really ask you to watch the end and give me your ideas about it when you can get to my podcast. Because the very, very end, and the shooting of Ashley was very, very disturbing. In that it looks like they break the window open. Two men break the window open. And then she's helped up. And someone, I guess, would go into the building when she's shot. But she's more or less held up almost as a target. I mean, it's very, very strange. And this section of this riot was all conducted by by Sullivan and by Antifa. The FBI concluded several days ago that people was not involved. This text and video show that Antifa was most definitely involved in part of the planning of this. Here's who was not involved in planning this. Donald J. Trump. Nothing to do with it. He gave a speech, his independent thing was going on that he knew nothing about. In terms of its organization or... You knew about the crowd that you spoke to, and that crowd is not the crowd that broke into the White House. Take a look at it. You'll see it. You really will. These guys look like real fellas. Coming up, I get to speak with you on Chat with the Mayor. Call me on Henry Howard's Foundation hotline at 1-800-848-9222. Help tunnel the towers to do good. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T2T.org. That's 1-800-848-9222.
We're going to have to figure out
Figure this out.
how we rein in our media environment.
Rein in.
Like,
Shut 'em up.
and disinformation and misinformation.
Well, I would say a lot of disinformation comes from us. Anyway, I want to remind you, cyber criminals are everywhere. You need to protect your good name, your reputation, your finances. And then when traffic center, you're so right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. I'm gonna switch to something else. I have vlogs.